Okay, today's lecture is on altruism. Altruism is just a fancy word for helping. Now, I have this quote from Muhammad Ali right here. Service to others is the rent that you pay for your room here on earth. To me, that's all about stewardship. We're not my religion class, but if I talk about the Dalai Lama, he says if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. You can make a difference in this world, which leads to one of my favorite books, which is this book right here. I want to be the giving tree. Everybody goes, oh, you're too giving. It's codependent. You need to take care of yourself. And Mother Teresa says the true meaning of love is to give until it hurts. That's stewardship, to give everything, leave it all in the field. But I don't want to go there. In my religion class, I'll go into that in more detail. Now, I'm going to come back to sociobiology. You remember we've evolved to have certain behaviors like our attraction, and then we were into aggression last time. Now it's about helping. How have we evolved to help other people or ourselves? And speaking of ourselves, Charles Darwin's natural selection focused on the traits that promote individual fitness. What is that? Looking out for me, things that, protect me. So the most basic level of helping is helping me, but that's not really helping in a way. Okay, so I want to talk about inclusive fitness today a lot. Inclusive fitness means I look out for my relatives. And so at least beyond me, I should look out for my brother, sister, mother, father, this, that, and the other. Now, W.D. Hamilton calls this inclusive fitness or defines this inclusive fitness in more detail. He says, we have a drive to preserve the fitness of those who are genetically related to us. That means if I die, that their genes might go into the next generation. We're still in the gene pool, basically. Okay, if you look at this slide right here, the more and more you're related to somebody, the idea is the more you're going to help them, risk your own life for them. But alternatively, the less you're related to somebody, the less and less that you would risk your own skin for that particular person. So bees are a perfect example. W.D. Hamilton worked with bees, wasps, all these kind of weird bugs like this. I shouldn't call them bugs, insects. And so bees, the reason he worked with bees, they're related by 0.75. I mean, humans can be up to 0.5. Now they're 0.75 related, the sisters. Well, what does that mean? Well, when a sister rushes out to sting an intruder to defend the hive, this is my favorite example. She disembowels herself. Not that that's part of it is my favorite, but she kills herself. So she sacrifices herself, but the hive lives. And so I'm around beehives in the desert all the time. I should have put one on here. But this is the perfect example. I don't take care of myself, kill myself, but the hive inclusive fitness is taken care of. Okay, so killdeer. I've got a bunch of animal examples. This is the little birds. We have them on campus actually. And so what they do is this broken wing display. They pretend like they have a broken wing. Why do they do that? Because they lay their eggs on the ground. And as they lay their eggs on the ground, predators might get near them. And so they go and pretend like they have a broken wing to draw the predator away and use themselves as bait. And then as they get far enough away from their eggs, they fly off and the predator is safely away from their eggs. I have a little movie to illustrate this point. Okay, here it is. You can see the dog right here, and there's the bird. There's the killdeer or killdeer. I don't know how you really supposed to say it. It's running around. Why is it running around? It thinks the dog's going to find his eggs on the ground. I think they show the eggs here in a minute. See, this guy's messing with it. Really shouldn't be messing with it. There's the eggs. He's going to come. You can see they're on the ground right here. And what it's doing is pretending like it has this broken wing right here. Take that off of there. So that the dog would come over there and eat it. And as soon as the dog gets close, it's going to run away, but it's that broken wing display. I'm going to use myself as bait to save my chicks. And so it's an individual inclusive fitness battle. Get that motif because I'm going to go on and on about that. Okay, California ground squirrels. What do? They tail flag. I meant to go get a bunch of stuff from Seven Worlds, One Planet. I don't know if you like Planet Earth 2, but Seven Worlds, One Planet is another one that he did, David Attenborough. But they tail flag whenever like a predator's around. If you were in class, I would show some more videos. They flap their tail around. Why? Because maybe like, they have little pups over here that could be in danger and say, hey, get out of the way. But they're risking their individual fitness because the predator can see them, and then their chicks, I shouldn't say chicks, pups, their pups run away and get safe, and so then they can probably run away too. But there's this duality. Do I protect myself or do I protect, those that are around me? Now, the third thing, I don't think I talked about this, but to do inclusive fitness, you have to have kin selection. What is kin selection? That means you have to know who your kin are. If I don't know who my brothers and sisters are, I can't protect them. So spade-foot toads are carnivorous. What does that mean? They eat each other. This is my favorite thing. But if they snap one of their kin up, and they start to eat it, it tastes like family, and so they'll spit it out and go eat a non-family member. So it's inclusive fitness on this very weird level. How does this relate to people? If I can get off of this one, the prisoner's dilemma. Okay, so you probably know this because it's been on a million movies, but I want you to know this for the test. This is the setup. You arrest two people. You bring them in and you put them in separate rooms and you question them separately. Okay, and so in these separate rooms, you have to have at least one of them make a confession, because if they don't fess up, you don't have enough evidence. Insufficient information is a big key right here. Now, the police are going to push on both of them. You've seen this in movies a million times. Hey, your buddy already told us. You might as well tell us. Or if you tell us, we'll go light on you and heavy on him. And so it sets up this scenario. Prisoner 1 has two choices, stay quiet or talk. Prisoner 2 has two choices, stay quiet or talk. I mean, this should seem very familiar. Now, if they both stay quiet, that's inclusive fitness. Great. Fuck the police. We're going to walk out of here. That's what the mafia wants to do. Just be quiet. Don't say anything. Don't be a rat. You know what I mean? But you have incentive to be a rat because you save your own skin. It's the best thing of all time. Now, if I talk and he stays quiet, I can screw him over and vice versa in these categories. So if I'm probably drawing too much on here now. But in those two categories, you can rat the other guy out. But see, if you rat each other out, you screw each other over. Now, how does this relate to anything? Well, I hope you've seen this movie, The Dark Knight, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And if you've seen it, you remember there was these two boats, and one was full of good people and one full of like convicts or something. But the Joker gives them both boats a button. Now, if they both punch the button, both boats blow up, and so everybody dies. If you punch the button first, the other boat blows up and you live. But if you both don't punch the button, both boats of people live. It's the exact same thing as the prisoner's dilemma. I hope that made sense. Okay, this next section is very simple. There's 4 theories. They're called egoistic because they're selfish theories of helping, because we're considering the cost that we might incur and also the benefits we might get from helping. This should sound familiar because this is cut off over here, ROI, return on investment. We talked about this with exchange theories and attraction. It's like, what's it costing me and what am I getting out of this? And so that ratio we have to take a look at. Now, Flora Edwards says that when we help others, we really help ourselves because it comes back to us. And so that's what most researchers in psychology say, is that there's no true helping. All helping at least brings something back to you, even if it's just feeling good. Okay, so theory number 1 is negative state relief. I call it the buzzkill theory. That if you see somebody in need, you're going, oh no, now all of a sudden I was in a good mood, now I'm in a bad mood. I want to get rid of my bad mood. That's why it's selfish. It has nothing to do with them being in need. It's that I don't want to feel bad anymore. So the victim's distress causes me to be in a bad mood. So if I can help them, it gets me out of my buzzkill. I know that seems kind of weird, but I have an example from Abraham Lincoln. He was on his way to give a talk. He was in his Sunday best. He's in a carriage, and he looked out the window and he saw this mama pig over here, and she was in the mud and she was going to drown, and all of her baby piglets were going to die, and they're all squealing. He says, "Stop the carriage." He runs out there, he gets out with his best clothes on, and he fishes that pig out of the mud, and then it was able to save the mama pig, and all the baby pigs are going to be alive. He gets back into the carriage, and everybody thinks he's a hero. He says, "No, I didn't do it because of that." He goes, "I wouldn't have had a moment's rest all day long if I knew that pig died." So that's the buzzkill theory. I hope that made sense. Okay, that's why I think these commercials are so effective, or maybe not effective because you can turn the TV, but you see the commercials about the dogs or the starving kids, and you're just like, oh, I just want to give. And why are you giving? Because you feel bad. You're giving out of feeling bad. Okay, empathic joy is the easiest one. This is the one I like the most. If you help others, it makes you feel good. It's the best drug on the planet. I love it so much. Like when I walk, ladies out to their car at church after morning mass. That's great. It gives me a high. I feel great for the rest of the day. Now, so what if that's selfish? I feel good. They probably feel good too. You know what I mean? And so I guess it's selfish at some level, and it's kind of ticky tacky, but whatever. This is the helper's high, or empathic joy. Just keep your mind on the word joy. Norm of reciprocity, focus on this word. We help others because it might come back, reciprocate to us. You know what I mean? If I help you move, you have to help me move, vice versa. And sometimes I just help because I know out there in the universe, kind of like, I have this word on here, yeah, karma. What comes around goes around. So that third one is karma. And the last one is called the social responsibility. It's your social responsibility, civic duty to help. You help others in need. Why? Because they're in need. That's it. This is why I love Matthew 25. I don't want to get into my religion class, but it's also, why I love Mother Teresa. She goes, you don't ask people why they're hungry, just give them some food. You don't ask them why they're cold, give them a blanket. That's it. And so a lot of times we do try to parse out who needs and who doesn't need. And certain people we go, oh yeah, you help, a starving kid, but then a hobo on the street, they put themselves in that situation. And so if you see that people put themselves in a situation, even if they're needy, you won't help them a lot of the times. Whereas if it's someone that seems invulnerable or like a victim of disaster or something else, then you'll go and help them because they didn't, put themselves into this situation. I hope those four theories made sense. Okay, this is the next section, and it's very important. It's from these two guys, Latney and Darley. They developed this 5-step model of helping, and I'll show you the 5 steps here in just a minute. Okay, but why did they develop this model of helping? It's because of this lady. This tragic thing happened to her. She was stabbed to death back in the 1970s. And it was in Queens in New York, and the thing that was weird about it is 37 people said that they heard the murder and saw it happening, but they did nothing. And now people are going, oh my God. And some people were like, well, that's just New York City, and it's just the way society's getting to be. And there was all these theories out there of why did just people sit around and watch and do nothing? All they had to do is pick up their phone and call the police and say something was happening. Now, this is what Latney and Darley started to surmise. Here's Kitty over here, if I can circle, and there's 37 people over here. And so as she's screaming out for help, their idea is people will say, well, there's a lot of people around, someone else must have done it. This is my movie theater, example. I know it's not the same thing, but if the sound is not working and the theater is full, a lot of people go, well, someone else is going to go. The theater is full, right? It doesn't have to be me. So if there's only one person over here, it's your responsibility to do something. But if you see a lot of people around, you assume someone else did it already called the police, right? And so this was their theory instead of people are evil or New York City is evil, and they wanted to test out this particular theory, and this is what led to their 5-step model. Now, this is the 5 steps. Did you notice something was happening? Yeah, 37 people did. Interpret. Well, some of them could have said, I just thought it was a boyfriend and girlfriend getting into a fight. But most of them said they saw a murder. Okay, so you can't cop out on this one. They focused in on this one. A lot of people said they saw it but thought someone else already called. And then eventually, in this case, it's not really, well, it could be like if you're a big butch man, you could go down there and fight them off. But like if you know CPR or something in certain cases, then you have to be able to swim, know CPR, have certain skill set. And then finally, even if you do, you can decide not to help. And so these were the 5 steps. And for today, I'm going to focus in on these top 3. Okay, I'm going to go with 3 first, and then we'll come back to 1 and 2. Okay, so let me see if I can get off of here at 3. This was number 3, right? Accept responsibility. Now, what they did is they tried to recreate the Kitty Genovese incident in the lab, and they would bring in people, and you were going to be a part of a discussion group, and you had to use intercoms as back in the day, and you were locked in a separate room, so you could hear the other people's voices. I hope that makes sense. And during the discussion, one of the people, I've told them because they're a Confederate, we've talked about actors or accomplices, would pretend to have an epileptic seizure. All they want to do is see, will you come out to check on her? Okay, I don't know if it was a her, but I'm going to make it a her. Okay, and so this is the setup. I have a little pictorial representation. Here's me, and here is she. If it's just me and her and she starts to have a seizure, I'm the only one. I better run down and say what's happening. But see, if there's another person, I could assume maybe he ran down already. And if I start adding more people in, which they did, the more people they would add in, the longer it would take, and the less likely anybody would come out of the room. They recreated effectively the Kitty Genovese incident. So one of the things you have to do is accept responsibility. In class, I usually tell this story. One time I was driving home on the 101. I look over and I see this young girl in her car is smoking. And there's a lot of people in front of me that aren't stopping. And it's like, oh no. And we're all going like 5 miles an hour and everybody's pretending like they don't see her. And so I stop and help her. And she's like, oh my God, you're so great. And this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, I'm not. It's like, I have to give a lecture on this. And if like I go and say, I just drove right by, I can't give the lecture anymore. And so it was a silly thing, but it's this real life thing now. Every time I think about these situations, it's like I just want to run in and help because I know people don't want to do it. They think someone else will do it. Okay, second thing is notice. I should have started with this, but they did a study. It was called the Good Samaritan Study. I don't know if you're Christian folk, but the Good Samaritan stopped and helped somebody which 2 previous people hadn't helped that were religious folk. Pious folk. And so the Samaritan, if you know anything about the Samaritans, they were kind of like the half-breeds, the no-goods back in the day. And so they're supposed to be the, disenfranchised class. He actually helped out the person. So what do? They have seminary students who are fixing to give a talk on job opportunities and becoming a priest, or on the Good Samaritan, the story I try to recount. You can't see it over here. It's like I have the picture cut off. And so they wanted to see, would this affect whether or not you helped people? If you just had to give a talk about the Good Samaritan, or, you're going to give a talk about being a priest. Now, the other thing that they looked at is this. Before their talk, they were told, you're ahead of time. You have plenty of time to get across campus to give your talk. Some people were said you have just enough time, and other people said, oh crap, I kept you too late. Y'all have to run. You're way behind schedule. You should have been giving your talk, let's say 5 minutes ago. Okay, so they want to see if this has any impact on your helping. So what do? They have this guy laying in the sidewalk all bloody or whatever that you have to like go by on this path to give your talk. They recreate the Good Samaritan. Now, it seems like if you just are fixing to give a talk on the Good Samaritan and you see somebody right on the side of the road, you would do it, right? But what's so funny is it's not the amount, the talk you're going to give. It's only if you were ahead of time did you stop. In these 2 conditions, it's like, I don't care if I'm late. I mean, if that guy's like needing my help, I'm late or I don't notice him. Maybe I'm so frazzled about I've got to give a talk, I don't notice that person, right? And so this is what they were trying to recreate. Sometimes we don't notice things because we're so into the zone and into our own schedule. Okay, so third one, interpret. And so actually it was the second one on the list. Okay, so this is the smoke study, probably the easiest and the best one to explain. What's the smoke study? Well, you showed up, and as you filled out a questionnaire at this study, the room started filling up with smoke. Now, it's either just you alone or you're with two other people. And sometimes they put you with two other people that are actors. And I've told the actors, pretend like it's all cool. But the smoke is so thick you can't see each other. Now all they want to do is see, do you walk out of the room and tell somebody there's a problem in this room? This is the movie theater example. And so I already have it done here while they're filling out the questionnaire. Here comes the smoke in the room. If you're alone, I don't know why this is not 100. 75% of the time, 3 out of 4 people will walk out the door and say, dude, there's a bunch of smoke in the room. I don't know why it's not 4 out of 4, but whatever. If you're with two other people, then it drops to 30. 62% of the people just stay in the room and do nothing. And then down here it says 10%. You can't see it. 10%, 90% of the people in this condition with the actors will just sit there and take it. And the idea is you use other people to help you interpret whether or not something's an emergency. So if other people are around and they're acting like, hey, no big deal, you act like, hey, no big deal. And you want to misinterpret things as non-emergencies because when they become emergencies, the shit gets real. And this is the example I usually give. It's about this little boy, James Bulger. It's a sad story. He was beaten to death at 11 years old. Well, before he was beaten to death, there was these 2 older boys that were seen with him, and they were dragging him out of the mall, but they were kids too. And a lot of people saw the incident, but most people misinterpreted it and said, those are just brothers playing. And most of the time it would be true. But everybody afterwards said, yeah, I kind of saw that, but I thought it was just boys roughhousing. And so they took him down to the train track and beat him up until he was dead. It's crazy because people misinterpreted this non-responsiveness over here and said, oh, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so I hope I made sense on that part. The last section is on true altruism, and so true altruism has to be with true helping because I've been arguing along that all helping is selfish at some level. It's unselfish regard for others. That's why I love the bee example. I have my little bee over here, but bees, they sting and they kill themselves for the hive. There's nothing you're getting out of that. I guess your sisters get to live on, but still. And so that's why I focus in on this. I'm not going to ask you this big definition on the test. This is the part of it. Unselfish helping. You could just write that down. That's the definition of altruism. Unselfish helping. Okay, so pseudo altruism means selfish helping, right? It's fake helping. And so Daniel Batson is one of the people that have looked into this in detail, and he says that people that are truly altruistic are empathic. Well, I'm empathic, and one of the things I argue against this is if I help you because I could put myself in your shoes and I could see me in that situation, then the reason I'm helping you is because maybe I might be in that situation in the future. And so I don't know, but this is the takeaway that altruism and empathy go hand in hand. Think about serial killers. They don't have any empathy. They're the opposite of empathy. They have zero empathy. And so when he studied people that were really true givers, true sacrificers, kind of like Mother Teresa, it's based on empathy. Okay, so Robert Hogan, I love this. Why nice guys finish last? He says, our society, you could be very selfish, individual fitness, or very unselfish, inclusive fitness, but most of us are in the middle. Why? Because it's the middle. It's like hawks and doves. I don't know if you can't see my predator over here, but not everybody can be a hawk. You have to have some doves. And so the world depends upon these people over here that are unselfish and will sacrifice themselves like the bee to the group. Otherwise, the group won't. If you had all predators, we just all eat each other, right? And so we need certain people that make these altruistic sacrifices to the group. And so, I don't know, Oscar Schindler, he risked his own life to save 1,200 Jewish people. He could have just said, oh, screw them, I'm okay. But he snuck all these people out, risking his individual fitness, like the animals, for the inclusive fitness, even beyond his own family, to a bigger group. This is why I love examples like this. There's a lot of examples. You see this all the time where kids or people will fall down into the subway and people will jump down there and almost kill themselves getting them out. And so this is just an example from the 70s. Arlen Williams, this is a very famous example back in the 80s when this plane like crashed into the Potomac River. He jumped in and kept swimming and bringing people out over and over and over until he died from hypothermia, I think. So he killed himself. I guess you could say he got to be the hero and go out in a blaze of glory, kind of like Mad Max, Fury Road style. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where I don't know. Otis Gaither, I love this example because in the 90s, late 90s, noticed a house on fire and he broke in and he saved this white man, even though the white man is a big old racist. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just let a white person die? This goes beyond inclusive fitness, even from a racial perspective, to someone that doesn't even like you. This is why I like religion. Okay, so not all parts of religion. The best example I have is this one right here, which is from Vietnam. In Vietnam, 63 people jumped on hand grenades and killed themselves, to save the hive. That's why I like the military. The military understands this. You are not important. The hive is important. You know what I mean? This is the best part of the military. Okay, so the last example I have is Jesus right here. I mean, he sacrificed himself for the whole world. I don't know if you get down with that, but this is why I love him so much. I was just like listening to Mass online this morning. It was all about that. It's like, and he says, I lay my life down for the sheep. I'm not, like, someone's not taking it away from me. I'm laying it down for all of the sheep. That's what the Good Shepherd does. I hope you like this lecture. I'll see y'all next time. Okay, bye.